Joining me now is Senate Banking Committee Chairman and Finance Committee member, Senator Tim Scott. Senator, it's great to have you. Thank you so much for being here with us this weekend.
It's good to be with you every day, all day long, Maria. You do a fantastic job, and I love the coverage you're giving to the White House. President Trump is keeping the promises he's made. It's remarkable to see what's happened in just 60 days.
Yeah, it sure is. And a lot of nervousness as well going along with that over tariffs. People are not sure how to view this. What do you want to say about the tariffs that are going to go into effect on April 2nd, the reciprocal tariffs on top of what we've already seen on aluminum and steel?
Putting America first means that making sure that American goods and services have the same access in markets around the world that they have in America. President Trump is keeping the promises he made to the American people. And frankly, putting America first means protecting our economy. Inflation is lower than expected. Really good news. Better news is that tariffs will create headwinds for those who want to take advantage for our economy, disadvantaging our workers. More jobs coming to America because of the tariff regime being put in place by President Trump. I don't know that he wants the revenues. He wants more jobs for working class Americans, and the way you do that is by having a level playing field across this globe for the American worker and American companies. It's a good day to be an American.
Yeah, and you talked about this with the president this week. You had a meeting with the president along with Senate Finance Republicans on Thursday to hash out the details of his tax agenda. I want to talk about this because the president has also now floated this idea of no tax on Americans earning under $150,000 a year. What can you tell us about the tax proposals? How are you going to pay for it? Because we know that you've got to come up with offsets if you're actually going to materialize and codify these no tax on tips and no tax on Social Security ideas, et cetera.
You know, watching President Trump we were at the White House for over 2 hours recently. We had a conversation, a deep dive in policy, tax cuts, and pay-fors, and they went from $2 trillion over a 10-year period of time up to $10 trillion. The president has a cafeteria plan, so to speak, to choose from on ways to make sure he honors the promises he's made. But here's what I was very excited about watching. President Trump is sharp as a tack, literally deep diving in issues with Ron John on how you go back to the 2019 baseline. Talked with me about making sure that businesses and developers aren't overtaxed as it relates to local and state taxes. We talked about opportunity zones. He turned his attention to James Langford, to John Thune, and he did this in rapid fire. The president is committed to one thing. Not his legacy about what he accomplished, but his legacy about what he accomplished for the working class people who made him president again. It was a remarkable experience that our president is Johnny on the spot, ready to go. And yes, he has a plan that includes whether it's not taxing under a certain threshold of income or eliminating taxes as it relates to interest on vehicles, I should say it differently, allowing those folks who buy a car made in America not to have to pay interest if they have to finance that car. He also talked about Social Security and as well as overtime.
Yeah, no, and I know that the Social Security fund is going to go insolvent unless we fix these, because there's just too much demand here for these policies, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. What have you come up with in terms of the offset, Senator? How will you pay for this agenda? And do you feel confident that you're going to be able to get all of it through this year, including the extensions of the tax cuts?
Number one, the answer is yes. We have a one-team philosophy. President Trump is the captain of this team. We're following his lead. Number two, the pay-fors that we talked about go far beyond the $2 trillion that the House proposed. We can see up to $10 trillion in pay-fors. We won't use them all, obviously. But going back to the 2009 baseline would save the American people trillions of dollars over the budget window. So I'm very comfortable with having the pay made for us to move us forward. But more importantly, I'm comfortable that the American people will get to keep the tax cuts they've already experienced and will experience more tax cuts as President Trump continues to deliver on the promise for the blue-collar comeback that he is leading.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned going back to pre-COVID spending levels, because I think, the Biden administration and Democrats went absolutely crazy spending, and they used COVID as an excuse. Up to $7 trillion in spending. So it's good to hear you have a plan to get back to pre-COVID. But I also want to get your take on what's ahead. You're looking back. You're also looking ahead, Senator. As the chairman of the Senate Banking Committee, you've been leading the effort to combat debanking based on political and religious views, pushing through legislation to curtail the weaponization of federal banks. JPMorgan Chase already making big changes to its code of conduct aimed at ending any future targeting of conservative customers, despite the persistent denial of any wrongdoing. What can you tell us about that legislation and equally your legislation on digital assets? I spoke with the CEOs of Tether and the CEO of Circle. They're doing the stable coin, and we want to understand better how the backdrop is going to look for that in terms of legislation.
Well, first, on debanking, think about, Maria, how ridiculous it is that the First Lady of the United States was debanked. Melania Trump not allowed to have a banking account at certain banks. That is utterly ridiculous. Think about the fact that our cryptocurrency world has not been able to be banked in this country because of something that the regulators use called reputational risk. My legislation eliminates reputational risk as a way of weaponizing the financial industry against our First Lady and industries that are legal in this country. That is great news for the American people. It's like the modern day redlining. We have to eliminate that so that we bank what's legal and who is worthy of a bank account. Number two, cryptocurrency is here to stay. We want to innovate in America before we overregulate it. We had a framework put in place led by Senator Haggerty, Senator Lummis, myself, making sure that the stable coins, to understand stable coins, it's kind of like a traveler's check on the blockchain. It gives people more access to the resources, and it will reduce the cost of doing business in America. A leap in the right direction. We will be the country that leads in the cryptocurrency footprint for generations to come. It's another promise made by President Trump on the campaign trail, another promise that we're keeping in our legislative agenda and priorities. The American people can rest assured that democratization is here to stay, and it will get better and better as we move these bills to the president's desk to be signed into law. It was a really good week.
That is terrific. Congratulations to you, Senator. It sounds so exciting. We are looking forward, and great to have you to talk with us. Please come back soon, sir.
Yes, ma'am. God bless.
All right.